Uh, all right, so we discussed about the preprocessor. If somebody is logged out, you can log in again. Okay, right. So we talked about the preprocessor. We talked about the compiler. We talked about the assembler and the linker and the loader. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to forget about the loader, we're going to forget about the linker, right? We're going to forget about the assembler, and what we will actually talk about is the preprocessor and the compiler, because they are going to play an important role in future also. So we are going to refer to these two components in future as well. Okay, so we know that when you have to write a program, the program consists of two things. One is the data and the other one is the process. So we have been talking about the data and the process since day one. Right. So when you learn a new language, okay, when you learn a new language, when I say language, it does not mean a computer language. Let's talk about English language, or for example, Hindi or Bengali or whatever language, right? So there are two forms of language. One is that you speak, right? And whatever you speak, you write, right? So when we talk about a computer language or a programming language, we will not be worried about speaking, but what we'll worry about is writing. Okay. So when you write any language, when you write anything in a specific language, let's say English, right? So you need to use certain symbols. You need to use certain characters. We need to use certain letters, right? So you know that if you have to write in English, or if you need to write in Hindi, then you use in English you use A to Z, capital A to Z. Then you use A to Z small, right? So there are different characters. You call these as letters. Also, when we talk about data inside a language, for example, if you say I was born in 1955 or I was born in 1992, right? So you also write 1992, isn't it? So what are these? These are numbers, these are digits, right? Along with that, you also have some special characters, like we use this exclamation mark, isn't it? We use exclamation mark, we use question mark, and there are different kinds of symbols that we use quotations, we use so many other things. Also, when we write a language, so for example, if I write a sentence, I say like, how are you doing? Is there a problem with this? Is there a problem with this sentence? Anyone? Okay, let me rewrite it. How are you? Which one is more appropriate?
So the later
Which one is
one.
the
Second
second
one.
one, right? Second one,
Yes,
isn't
sir.
it? The second one
Yes,
is
sir,
more
the second
appropriate.
one.
Absolutely. Perfect. What is the difference between the first one and the second one?
The first one was
So
quite
there is no space
congested, sir.
between
Space
words.
is the
Yeah,
difference.
absolutely. So we have, left out a space, isn't it? That's perfect. So we have left out a space. Now, this space is actually a small blank space, isn't it? It's a blank space. A space can
Yes,
be
sir.
anything. So if I write like, how are you? There's another problem here. There's another problem here. There is a space issue, but this space is not a single space, but we can say that it's a tab, right? We all know what's a tab, right? We all know what's a tab, right? Tab is like lots of spaces at once.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
yes, yes, absolutely. So you know that the most appropriate sentence would be this one, because in between these two words we have a single space, right? So now if you look at a programming language, it is very similar to how we write your normal language. Now, in order to write a program, you basically use characters. We use a set that consists of 32 characters. different types of letters, digits, numbers, right? White spaces, right? White spaces can be basically the spaces which, for example, if I write hello, how are you? There is a problem here also. What is the problem? That we are skipping this line and writing the words in different lines. So every word is starting in a new line. Right. So here also there is a space issue because we are leaving all the space in this entire line and then writing it down here. So in the first instance, there should be only a single blank space between the words, and that is correct. But if I have a tab, that's also wrong. If I have the entire line, so if you are starting in a new line, this is also a problem, right? This is not how we write sentences. So if you look at it, there are different kinds of spaces. One is a blank space, there's a blank space, the other one is a space which has a tab, the third one is a new line. So all these are related to white spaces. Now let me see, somebody is asking a question on the chat saying that but this should not be of every language issue. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm talking about, language in specific, and I'm talking about the English language right now, right? So different languages have their own grammar, different languages have their own format and own rules, right? So what we are discussing right now is an example of English, right? So if you look into the space issues, or maybe there are some languages which have a different format of spacing. Okay, like for example, you write Arabic, or you write Arabic, you write from English, you write from left to right, but in Arabic you write from right to left, right? So there is a difference in the format in which you write also. So there are different rules for different languages, right? So when we study a programming language also, there are rules, and the rules are different for different programming language. Okay, but most of the programming languages will use characters, will use some kind of letters. So if you're writing a program in Python, if you're writing a program in C++, if you're writing a program in Java, or if you're writing a program in C, obviously you will need some format, some symbols, some characters to write, right? And most of them are derived from the English language. Okay, so a character can be called as a part of a word. So when I say how, so each of these elements is a character. Okay, these are called as character, right? Now, using characters, you can form words, you can form sentences, you can form paragraphs. All right. So the character can be represented by alphabets, right? It can also be represented in the form of digits. It can also be represented in the form of white space. So if you leave a space between, two words like hi, hello, this space that you actually leave is also a part of the character. Okay, you can't say that there is nothing there. There is something there, and that something has a meaning, right? So that is also a character. And then you can have some special characters which have some special symbols. For example, this, right? This is a very special symbol, right? You have different kinds of symbols. For example, if you use programming language, and obviously if you have studied C++, then you know that this is a very scary kind of what you call a symbol, which is associated with pointers, and it is also associated with multiplication. So this is called as an asterisk. So this is a special symbol. You also have a symbol called ampersand, which is also a special symbol. We also use this hash. This is also a special symbol. So these are all special characters. Okay, so these are all special characters. I mean, this is also very common, right? This is also special characters. We use percentage, that's also a special characters. All greater than, less than, operators, minus, plus.
minus, plus.
All right, so all
All
these
right.
are
So
examples.
all these are
Is my voice echoing? Okay, can you all hear me clearly?
okay. Can you all hear me clearly? Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So what I'm talking to you is about the character set. So if you look at, we are talking about C programming here. So I'll be bringing into the C programming rules for you. So The C programming has got a character set, which is called, is somebody unmute or something? Arujit Talukdar, can you please mute your microphone? Yes, thank you. Okay. So when I talk about the C character set, that means all the characters which are used to write C program, we define the C character. Let me write character set into 4 different parts. Okay. I know you must already be knowing this. So first one forms the letters. The second one forms the digits. Okay. The third one forms the white spaces, right? And the fourth one is your special character. So letters means A to Z, capital smalls, digits means numbers. You can talk about decimals 0 to 9. White spaces can be your backspace, horizontal tab, new line, right? So basically, I will tell you exactly how you represent them. It's basically represented this form. Like if you have a new line, then you represent it this way. But just for an example, you know exactly white space, what exactly it is, right? And then you have special characters. I gave you some examples of special characters, which are, hash, and then you have ampersand, and then you have your asterisk, then you have your plus. All these are your special characters. Okay. So using these character sets, you can write your statements. You can use these character sets in your C programming. So when you write the language, C language, you will be using these character sets. All right. Now, there is a very special kind of symbols which the C programming language uses, and they are called as delimiters. Okay, what exactly is a delimiter? Can anyone tell me what is the meaning of delimiter? Now, don't think in terms of programming. Okay, don't think in terms of programming. Does anybody know what is the example or what is the meaning of delimiter? Can you guess? Can you guess? Okay, so delimiter is basically, for example, if you have something here, you need to specify the boundary for it, right? So you can use a delimiter. So the most common form of delimiter is the comma. So suppose I have 2 words, right? 2 words, say word, meaning. So if I separate this using a comma, that means there is a boundary which I'm drawing here. That means these two are different. So delimiter are those symbols. Yes. So delimiters are those symbols which break the sequence. So if you have a sentence, right? If you have a sentence and if you put a colon, that means this sentence is broken here. So we are basically defining the boundary. We are defining the boundary, or we are defining the place where the sequence is broken. So comma is a delimiter which breaks the sequence. Similarly, you have colon which breaks the sequence. You have semicolon which breaks the sequence. Now, why is it important to learn these very special kinds of symbols? So I'm giving you some symbols here. So this is a colon, okay? This is a semicolon, okay? Then you have these parentheses, then you have these brackets, these square brackets, right? We have curly brackets, all right? This is hash, and then you have these comma. So these are examples of delimiters. Okay, now if you have studied C++ or Java, or you know that when you write a statement, you end the statement with a semicolon, right? So this actually signifies that we have come to the end of that statement and we need to start a new statement. All right. So delimiter basically breaks the sequencing. So these examples that you saw here of different symbols, they are a very special kind of symbols called as delimiters. Okay, so just keep a note of it. And what are they used? So all these symbols are used in your programming. Okay, when you write the language in C, you will be using these symbols. Now I'm going to write some words. Okay, I'm going to write some words. And then I will ask you whether you know what is the meaning of those words. Okay, let me first specify it. So the first word that I'm going to write is called as keyword. Then second one I'm going to write is variables. The third one I'm going to write as operators. Now, even if you don't know programming, we'll try and guess the meaning of this. Then we can call constant. Then, we can say string. Okay, fine. So, can somebody tell me what's a string? So, who's saying
Characters.
string is? Yeah, who's that? Yeah,
Long characters, sir.
long characters. Okay, so long characters means like A is a character. So, I say A like that. Long character.
No,
Yeah.
sir.
So the
Words.
group of characters is a string.
Okay. So, what's a string? It's a sequence of characters. Okay. It's a sequence of characters. So, string is basically a sequence of characters. So, one character is A, single character. But if I have a character in sequence, right? Like here you go. You have, okay. Look at this. What is this? This is a sequence of characters, isn't it? We have one character, another character, another one, but in a sequence. Now, what this represents is a string. So we can say that string is a sequence of characters. Now, is it important to have a string? Because a language cannot consist of only single characters. When we talk in English also, we make a lot of strings. Each word in English is a string. Do you all agree with this?
Yes, sir.
Every
Yes, sir.
word in English, every sentence in English is made up of strings. So any language, whether it's programming language or a normal language, you need to have strings. So all our communication, because you cannot give instructions in just a single character. When you are giving instructions, we have to use strings. So strings are nothing but a sequence of characters which have a specific meaning, of course. All right, so everybody understood what's a string?
Yes, sir.
Okay, brilliant, brilliant. So example of string: apple, banana, orange, hello, hi. Your name is a string. My name is a string. My name is Manus, and this is a string. Okay, your name is also a string. All right, fine. Now, can we have, when we talk about a string, can we have characters like, for example, MAN0365 dollar? Is this a string?
No.
Yes. No, sir.
It's it's not a string. Then what is this? It is a string. It is also a string because a string is, when I say characters, everything is a character. So any character, your special character or character, if you put it together, that can form a string. So your email address is a string. How many of you have email addresses? Everyone has an email address. That's a string. So if your email address is like, right, that's a string at gmail.com. This entire thing is also a string. All right. So string is nothing but a sequence of characters. All kinds of characters are strings. All right, fine, fine, perfect, good. Now let me ask you, what are operators? Uh, if you have, if you're not answering, then please mute your microphones. Okay, thank you. So next is operators. Can you tell me what are operators? Anyone? Why do we need operators? What are operators? Just think about operators.
Sir,
Operators are
basically we need
certain symbols.
So the
Okay,
symbols,
yes. Symbols. Okay, operators. Somebody says symbols. Okay.
the symbols that
Sir,
perform certain operations, mathematical
Okay.
operations or logical operations.
Okay. Symbols that perform certain operations. Okay. Anyone else?
And or between BCA operators.
Okay. Okay. And or okay. All these are different kinds of operators. Okay. Now, two things. Okay. Operators can have a lot of meaning. Operators can have a lot of meaning. For example, when I say when I say uh, this one, this is an expression. This is an expression. Okay, this is an expression. So what does this expression tells you? It tells you to perform an operation. What kind of operation? We are performing the operation of addition here. So this plus is a symbol which represents an operation. What is that operation that it represents? It represents an operation of addition. Sorry, my spellings are bad. Addition, right? Is this an operator?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
This is also an operator. This is also an operator. So if you notice, every operator that you have performs a specific function. It performs a specific function. What is the function of plus? The function of plus is to take the value of a and add it to value of b, or you can, or the vice versa also. You can take the value of b and add it to the value of a. What is the functionality of equal to? The functionality of equal to is take the result of a and b and put it inside c. Like when you take c is equal to a plus b, this is like an operator which performs say 3 plus 2. So this, the result is 5. Who calculates 5? This plus symbol calculates 5. What does this equal to do? So if you look at this equal to, it's like a pipe. So this value 5 actually flows through this pipe into c. All right. So equal to is also an operator, plus is also an operator. So if you look at a programming language, then one of the most important aspects of programming is to perform operations. Okay. Operations means these are the backbone of processing. So when you process data, the data is processed using operators. And these operators are used in expressions. You can't use a operator by itself. Like I can't write plus. If you write plus, it has no meaning. I have to use plus with an expression, in an expression. So if I have an expression is like 3 plus 2, right? What is the answer of 3 plus 2? Then this is an expression. Now this plus has a meaning because it requires two different operands. Okay, these are called as operands. So without an expression, these operators actually don't have a meaning. If you just write minus, you don't know what this minus is because this minus requires an expression. Okay, so operators can be of different types and they are used in expressions, and we know exactly what operators are, right? So operators basically work with data types. Remember that. So for data processing, right? For data processing, we know that our program consists of data plus process. Why do we need data? Because this is the raw data which we need to process. So for data processing, operators are very important and they are useful. Anyone has a doubt here, or you're okay with operators?
Fine, sir. Okay.
Fine, fine, good, good, good.
Fine, sir.
All right. Now, what's constant? It's very easy. Okay, let's before we constant, let's not talk about constant first. Let's talk about variables. Now, if you look at constants and variables, they are kind of opposites of each other, isn't it? What are variables? What? Okay, I don't want any technical terms or any technical definitions. What do you think about a variable? What do you think is a variable? Something which can vary. Yes, variables are something which
Yes,
can
sir.
vary, right?
Yes, sir. It's
Okay.
like, sir, X and Y, whatever we take in
Yeah, whatever.
program.
So suppose I take X and Y. Now, the value of X and Y can change. I can have 5, I can have 6, I can have 7, Y, I can have 10. Then I say, I don't need 10, I want 11. Okay, 11. Okay, I don't want 11, I want 12. So 12, 5, 6, 7, these are values. And these values are changing, but X and Y remains. Now, these X and Y are called as variables. Now, these variables are basically like your container. Okay, now that day I spoke to you about, that when you have this data in a program, this data needs to be stored in some container, right? This data needs to be stored in a container. So if you have a cup, right, or if you have a glass and that glass contains water, right? So this glass is basically like a variable. Okay, so you have an option. So if you have a glass, you can either put water in the glass, right? Or you can actually put milk in the glass, or you can put juice in the glass. So you can either put like water till this much, or if you want, you can fill the entire glass with water, or you can have like half of water, or you can even mix water and juice together. So the important point here is this glass, okay, can contain different kinds of things. It can contain different values of things. I can have water 2 ml, I can have 3 ml, I can have 5 ml, I can have 10 ml, I can have 100 ml, I can have 200 ml. So there is a variation of the value of water inside a glass. But what remains constant here? What is fixed here? The glass is fixed here. Okay, so glass is a container in which you can change your values. So variables are basically like the containers where you're going to store the data. So variables are like those containers where we store the data. So in a program, when we have to work with data, we have to carry the data from one place to another place. We have to store the data. We have to store a data because somebody else might need it. So if I go to your house and I ask you some water, obviously you will have to transport that water or bring the water from the fridge in your kitchen all the way to your living room. So how are you going to bring the water? Imagine you will not carry the water in your palms and bring it, right? You will obviously have a container, and because probably a guest has come, so you will take out your favorite glass which you have kept it nicely, which looks nice, and you will bring the water in that glass. But if you are having water for yourself, then you can directly take from the bottle and you drink it. But to a guest, you will serve it in a glass. So obviously, you have to carry the water from your kitchen all the way to the living room. So in order to carry the water, you need a glass. So this glass is like a variable. In the same glass, you can put half a glass of water, full glass of water. So variables are those containers in which you store data. So did you understand what's a variable? So variable is a container where you store data. So I say X is equal to 5. X is a variable which is storing some data. What is the data it is storing? 5. Can I change that data to 6? Yes. But what is X? X is a container, and that's a variable. All right. So we can also take different kinds of containers. So containers can be of different kinds. So if I say, like, if I want to store your name, so this has to be a container where your name is stored. So I will store my name in a container. What is the value inside this container? What is the data which is inside that container? This one. Suppose I want to change the data inside that container. Can I do it? Yes. Now, not my name, but Rahul's name is there inside that container. But is this container the same? Yes. In the same container, I can keep changing the values. That means I can fill it up with Rahul, I can fill it up with Manas, then tomorrow I can fill it up with whoever it is. Right? The name keeps changing, but this container is fixed. So this container, which is very important because it stores the value of the data, or it stores the data, is called as a variable. Did you all understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So remember that variables are those containers which will store your data. Okay. Now variables can be defined by you. Variables can be defined by you. Like I can say, name. Name is something which I have defined. And I can say in that name you store Manas, but I also have because this container, this variable is user defined. That means I have the authority to change or name it. So I can also write F name as first name, or I can also write F, for example, F underscore name. I can write this, or I can just write N1 also. So these variables are user defined. That means whoever is writing a program, he can write as many variables as possible. N1, N2, name, age, A, B, C, D, all combinations. There are certain rules for making these variables, for naming these variables, but there is no limit as to how many variables you can actually define. Okay, so these are variables. What about constants? So what are constants? Now, can you tell me what is a constant?
So constant have fixed values.
They are fixed values. Okay, so 5. 5 is a constant?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
5
sir.
is a constant because I know that 5 is 5. I can't have 4, I can't have 3. 5 is 5, it's fixed. When I say 5, I mean 5. If I say give me 5 apples, I know that only 5 apples I want, right? So this is an entity which is constant, which is fixed. So if I say my name, Manas, Manas, is this constant? Is this constant?
Yes, sir.
This
Yes,
is
sir.
No, sir.
this is constant because yes, my name is constant because wherever I go, I will be known as Manas. You can't change like my name, right? This is constant, right? So if you say A is constant. A will have the meaning of A. You cannot use A in place of B, or you cannot use B in place of A. A is A. So these are all examples of constant. But important thing to note is that constants are assigned to variables. So if I have a variable X, I can assign 5, right? So this is a variable which is basically a container to store data, and the data that you store is a constant, right? Did you understand this? For
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
example, name. This is a variable which is a container to store some data, and the data that I store is a constant. So this is a constant, this is a variable, this is a constant, this is a variable. So constant and variable has got a link with each other, right? Constants are the data and variables are the container. So you store this data inside this container. So variable is equal to constant. Did you understand?
Yes, sir.
So in the literal
Yes, sir.
sense, if somebody says variable is equal to constant, wow, this is not right. How can variable be equal to constant? Because variable has an opposite meaning of a constant. But yes, in programming language, here you go. Variable is equal to a constant here. Okay, so constants are assigned to variables. So here is the container, here is the data. The data is a constant and the container is a variable. So just remember that much. Okay, so everybody clear? Anyone has a doubt with this, then please let me know. No one has a doubt. Everybody's clear with what's a variable and what's a constant, because most of the people, when I was studying programming for the first time, I had a doubt with constant. I had a problem with constants and variables. I could not figure out what's a constant and what's a variable. I thought that constant is static and variables are dynamic and all that stuff. Anyway, so can I move on?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, fine. Now we come to the last part, and what is that? A keyword. What is a keyword? Can anyone tell me what's a keyword? What's a keyword?
Sir, a special word.
These are called as reserve word. Okay,
They,
these are called as reserve word. What is the meaning of reserve word? Reserve word means when you talk about a compiler, okay, compiler has taken some word. For example, I'm just giving you some of the words like auto, break, right? You can say else. There are so many of them. There are more than 30. Okay, so this also depends on which compiler you're using. Different compilers have different numbers of keywords. Now keywords are reserve words. What is the purpose of reserve words? Now reserve words are words which compiler uses for its very specific purpose. Very specific purpose. That means reserved words are words which the compiler has, taken it for itself, that it has assigned certain meaning to those words, which the compiler will understand. So these words cannot be used in variables. Okay, so variables are user defined. So I can write name, and name is equal to Manas, right? So this is a variable. Now this name I can change, I can write anything, but remember that all these reserve words cannot be used here. So I can't say auto is equal to, say hello. I can't do this. because auto is a reserve word. What's a reserve word? It's a keyword. What's a keyword? That means compiler has reserved this word for itself, that no one can use it except me. Only the compiler will use this. And if you want to use it, you have to use it in the context in which it has been defined. That means you cannot use it as a variable. Okay, it is not given to the user for free to use it whenever you want to. It is to be used only with a specific purpose. Okay, so keywords
Excuse
are,
me, sir. Sir,
yes,
can I ask something? Sir,
yes, please.
keyword is also quite similar like operators. It all, every keyword performs some kind of operations like
Yes,
else.
yes, yes, yes. Obviously, so keyword has a specific functionality. It's got a specific purpose. That's why I said reserve words are, and the specific purpose has been defined by the compiler. Okay, so when the compiler has defined a specific purpose for this, it cannot be used for our variables. All right. So each of these has got some functionality. It may not have a functionality as such. What I'm saying is it may not have a functionality, but it may have a meaning. It may have a specific meaning. Okay, it may have a specific instruction. A specific instruction and a functionality may be different. An instruction may be do this, right? An instruction is just, for example, an identifier can also be a reserve word. An identifier, that means you're identifying what kind of things. For example, when I say int, right, int doesn't have any functionality as such, but it identifies what kind of data it is. Are you getting it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So just remember that reserve words are those words which are reserved for the compiler. You cannot use a reserve word to name your variables. All right. So we will be using a lot of reserve words. In fact, when we start writing a program, you will realize that there are so many different types of reserve words that we will be using. And when you're defining variables and we're working with data types, the reserve words will come immediately, because int, float, double, all these are nothing but reserve words. But I'm not coming to this int, float, and double right now. We will discuss it soon. So all of you are clear about keywords, variables, operators, strings, constant. All of you are clear about this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, all these that I have discussed right now, constants and strings and variables and operators and blah blah keyword, right? All these that you have actually heard right now, right? They are used for writing program statements. So I told you these in the first class. I told you these in the first class, branching, looping, all that stuff.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
in
sir.
order to in order to write all of this, in order to write all of these, all these five things are used here. Okay, so in order to write your statements, in order to write your program statements, right, these are the small units by which you can write these statements. These are like your molecules of your program. Molecules are the smallest bit, right? So molecules, these are like different types of molecules. Okay, all of these you can combine together to write your statements. All right. Now these are called together as tokens. Please remember, they are called as tokens. What are tokens? The tokens are the smallest unit in a program. So tokens are the smallest unit in the program. They are the molecules of the program. That means by combining different tokens, we can write a statement. And by combining different statements, we can write the program. So did you understand this?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
fine.
sir.
So, there are different kinds of constants. We will not be doing that much when we write programs, or when we actually talk about, there are, like we discussed, five. Five is a type of an integer constant. You can also have 3.142, the value of pi, that is called as a floating point
Float.
constant. Yeah. So if you say a character C is like a character constant. So if I say Manas that I wrote, so Manas is a string constant. Okay, string, because this is a sequence of characters. So there are different kinds of constants. So we will do all that, right? So what is important right now is to understand the various tokens and what is their function in writing a program. Okay, so we will be looking at the rules. Before we actually get into programming, I will take another class to explain the entire concepts of variables and constants, and I will connect the data types. So today we know that variables are the container which will store different kinds of data. So just remember that, okay? For today's class, just remember that variables are the containers which will store different data. Now, tomorrow's class, I will start with some of the rules for defining a variable, and also I will discuss what exactly are data types in connection to variables and constants. Okay, so if anyone has a doubt, please let me know. Otherwise, we can end the class today here. Anyone? Did you understand whatever I discussed right now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
all clear, sir. All clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Perfect. So we will take it
Sir, just
slow. Yeah. Yes. Please ask me.
sir, just a query, sir.
Yes,
Sir,
please.
it's not regarding the topic, sir. Basically, I just want to know the difference between the low-level language and high-level language. What's the feature, sir? Basically.
Okay. So you want to know what is difference between the low level language and high
Yes,
level
sir.
language.
So, what's the
So,
difference feature, sir?
okay. One important thing that the best way to understand what's the difference between a low level language and a high level language is to understand what is high level and what is low level. Okay. When you look at a program, right, let me just clear this and explain it to you. So it's a very simple thing. You have a computer, right? You have a computer, and in this computer, you actually execute some instructions, right? Now, these instructions are executed in a language which the computer understands, and that is in the binary. Say 101010. You know what's binary, right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So the instructions which the computer understands is in binary. Say, okay, I'm giving you an example. Now, do you think it is easy for us to write a code in binary?
No, sir.
It's quite tough, sir.
Very tough, isn't
So,
it? Just
Yes, sir.
imagine if you have to convert one number into binary, it's going to be difficult. Now, if you have to
Really
convert,
difficult.
suppose, every character has got a specific code.
Binary numbers.
It's got a code. It's got a specific code. Like it's got a number, an ASCII value, and that ASCII value, you can convert it. Can you just mute your microphones? Yeah, can you just mute your microphone so that it's easy for us to hear? Okay, thank you. So every character has got a number associated with ASCII number. So you can convert that into a binary. Now, if you want to, execute an instruction, that instruction, imagine converting it into a binary and then giving it to the computer to execute. It's going to be very, very difficult. You all agree, right? So the computer understands binary. It is, so if you supply, so the code that you have to supply to the computer is going to be your machine level language. Okay, it's called MLL, machine level language, because the computer understands everything in machine level. It will not understand English. It doesn't understand, Hindi. It understands only machine level. Machine level is binary instructions. Now it is not easy for us to write long codes. Yes, you can write. I'm not saying that you can't write. You can write machine level language, no problems at all. But in order to write one line, it will take you around 2 hours. Okay, one line of instruction, it will take you 2 hours because you have to convert in, each instructions you have to, convert it into binary and then write it. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be very, very difficult. So what we do is we bring about assembly level language. So what is this assembly level language? So assembly level language is not machine level language, but it is little better than machine level language, but there has to be some conversion tool required. So the programming language that you write here is also not very easy, but it is easier than machine level language. Okay, because lot of details you have to write here also, and this has to be converted into machine level language. So what happens is, this is, although it's not easy, but it is better than machine level language. So what we do, we bring about high level language. Now this high level language is, a programming language which is basically very simple. But when we talk about C programming, it is called as middle level language. It is not a high level language, it's a middle level language. Okay. Now middle level language is better than assembly level language. That means it is still better than assembly level language. So you can write the code that you write here will be a lot easier than that code you write here. So in terms of machine level language, it is very difficult to write. Okay. Assembly level language, yes, it's kind of okay. Middle level language, yeah, a little fine, but not all that good. But when you talk about high level language, it is very easy to write the code. Okay. So why is it easy? Why is high level language easy? The reason why high level language is easy is because we leave out lots of detailing. That means lot of internal details are not required. You can write it in some English form, and which is very easy to understand. You don't have to do a lot of things. The program, the compiler will have inbuilt mechanism to do your stuff for you, right? You just have to write print and the print will be done, right? So high level language has got abstraction. What is abstraction? Abstraction means hiding lot of details, right? For example, now today when you drive a car, you just press a button. You press a button and something happens. The power window comes down and the power window can go up just by pressing a button. Now, do you know how it is working? Do you know the internal details of how that power window is actually working? All you're doing is pressing a button. So you are writing a program there, press a button, and the power window is, going up or down. The window is closing by itself automatically. That is high level. But in low level, you have to write the code, the entire code for opening and closing the window yourself. Okay, so when you look at a high level language, it is easy to understand. It is written in English, lots of detailing, lot of details are actually missed out. You don't have to worry about lot of things because your program, the programming language will take care of it. But when you look at machine level language, you have to do everything there. Assembly level language, it is little better than machine level, but still you have to write lot of instructions. You can't, you can't just write for example, add. If you can't write function add 5,2, you have to write the program to do the addition. Okay, but in case of middle level language, if you do add 5,2, it will add it for you. So the whole point is about this word called as abstraction. So your high level means lot of detailing is left out, but your machine level and assembly level means that all the small tiny things also need to be programmed. So did you understand what is the difference between high level, machine level, assembly level, and all that?
Sir, completely, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, fine. So any other questions you have? So that's why you say, Java. When you talk about Java, it's a high level programming language. Okay, very easy to understand. Yes, they're all high level language. Yes, all programming languages which are high level. Why? Because you have functions to do everything. You don't have to do any coding. If you want to do this, use that function. If you want to find the root of a number, use the function. If you want to, find the length of the string, use that function. But in case of middle level language, for example, C, if you want to find the length of the string, then you have to, extract each and every character and then find. So you have to do some additional stuff. If you use assembly level, machine level, it keeps getting tougher for you. But the advantage is, if you are doing machine level language, so for example, Java is a high level programming language, right? So you can do a lot of functionalities, you can build a lot of applications. That means those applications which do not require you to interact with the machine. But if you talk about C is a middle level programming language. So what you can do with C is, you can also develop system software. That means software by which you are interacting with the machine. Java will not allow you to interact with the machine much. Okay, so you can write applications which do not require, so you don't write system level programming in Java. You will not be writing drivers. You will not write, like if you are installing a new hardware, then you have to use a driver. All of you know, right? Driver is that piece of software which will communicate with your operating system. So that is a program which communicates with your machine. So you don't write any drivers in Java. You will write drivers in C. Why? Because C is not a high level language. It's a middle level language. It gives you little bit features of high level, and it also gives you features of, those features by which you can interact with your machine also. Okay. So high level.
Rigid C is only middle level language, or anyone or anything else, any
Yes,
other language, sir?
C is the middle level language right now, which is used across the world. The reason why C is taught, today, even after so many years, we have so many different types of languages which has come, but still why C is important is because of this aspect. All the operating system that you talk about, Windows, you talk about Unix, all of them are written in C. If you talk about drivers, you buy the latest HP machines, you buy the latest HP printers, but those drivers that you install will all be written in C. Okay, that is why C is very important. If you do any programming which is connected to a hardware, for example, if you're using IoT, Internet of Things, and you're programming a sensor, that is done using C. Okay, so that's why C is an important language to learn.
C is used for software development.
Yeah, when you talk about C, software is what? Software is, any large scale program is a software. Okay, so any programming language, you write a software itself. So C, yes, you develop applications. So different types of softwares are there. You can have application software, you can have system software. So software is, any programming language means software. Okay.
Okay, sir. Fine.
So we will stop today's class here, and we will continue with this tomorrow. So I'll see you tomorrow then. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye. See you.
Bye, sir.
Bye.